Viewers, the top story on the show on India Global today. In a major development, US President Donald Trump has said the US and Iranian officials are expected to meet soon, signaling a return to diplomacy following the recent American airstrikes on Iranian nuclear facilities and Tehran's retaliatory attacks. Donald Trump has expressed hope that further military action will in fact not be necessary, pointing to a potential and a possible de-escalation in terms of tensions. While he didn't specify a date, his Middle East envoy, Steve Witkoff, let's cut across to camera number 2 now. Steve Witkoff said that talks could begin within the next week. The announcement comes just weeks after America, in coordination with Israel, launched those precision strikes on Iranian nuclear sites in Natanz, Fordo, and Isfahan in a bid to cripple Tehran's alleged nuclear program. Donald Trump also said he's willing to consider easing sanctions on Iran at the right time, saying he wants to give Tehran a chance to rebuild peacefully rather than continue fueling anti-American, anti-Israel rhetoric. Now, what's going to be the future like of this entire region? We're going to put that out, and that's a big story. But first up, I want to play out that soundbite of Donald Trump when he spoke about what he thinks are potential possibilities with regard to Iran.
We have scheduled Iran talks, and they want to talk. They took a big drubbing, I think, when we hit the 3 sites, really. I would say the 3 sites, not just the one. The one was a big one, and it was deep in granite, and it was obliterated.
The big questions that we are putting, in fact, on this story. First up, how soon can a diplomatic breakthrough be achieved? As far as these talks are concerned, there is a potential of some sort of a reprieve, but is that really possible? Second big question, what happens to the nuclear program that Iran has? It is something that there have been conflicting reports as far as whether or not the Iranian nuclear program has been quote-unquote obliterated. If not, if it's still valid, there are some reports indicating that maybe 2 years is the kind of setback. If so, then what can be the potential impact on the Iranian nuclear program? What happens to it? Third important point, will this lead to sanctions relief? There's been a lot of talk about it. The commodities market has also responded to it as well. In fact, there's been a rally in the commodities market as well. And lastly, what is exactly the big game plan that the Middle East, for the Middle East region as far as Donald Trump is concerned? Let's get in Brahma Chellaney to answer some of those. Dr. Chellaney, as always, a pleasure to have you on the show. Some of the points that we've put out in terms of what lies ahead, help us understand what really, there's a lot at stake, but in your assessment, do you think this much of ground can be covered when the American and Iranian officials meet?
Let's be clear, Gaurie, as to what the Americans are demanding. They're demanding that Iran entirely give up its enrichment program. But under the NPT, to which Iran is a signatory, a non-nuclear state can legitimately pursue an enrichment program. And the 3 nuclear sites that US bombed were all under international safeguards. In other words, they were open to inspections by the International Atomic Energy Agency. Despite that, the Americans carried out these strikes on these 3 facilities, undermining the international regime that seeks to prevent nuclear proliferation. Now, if the Iranian regime were to accept what Trump administration is demanding, it would amount to capitulation, and it would make the Iranians' position at home untenable. The Iranian regime will not be able to survive if it were to accede to the American demands. The fact is that after having been bombed, Iran will seek to play for time. It will seek to use its hidden stockpile of enriched uranium in ways that would keep the world guessing. In fact, Iran now has strong motivation to go the North Korean route. In 2003, North Korea left the NPT, terminated all IAEA inspections of its program, and then after a while that exploded a nuclear weapons device.
So what you're saying is these are delaying tactics, these are time-buying tactics on Iran's side. And do you think that the Trump administration is not able to see through it, or do you think there's more to it than what meets the eye?
Well, Trump lives in a fantasy world of his own. He thinks that having bombed Iran, that Iran will have no option but to capitulate to American demands. The Iranians have a record of being good diplomats. They have been quite skilled in diplomacy. And we've seen that over many years that they have taken the U.S. on a winding route without giving up their nuclear program. And I think they will continue to seek to buy time. Trump, of course, is a man in a hurry. There is no way any kind of deal can be stitched together in a short period of time.
Let me then ask you this question, Dr. Chellaney. In terms of sanctions relief, it's been put on the table. Do you think that that's a carrot, or do you think that's a real possibility right now? Because it impacts the world, it impacts India as well. We've been buying a lot of oil from Iran till those sanctions came into place. Of course, now a third comes from Russia. But the larger point is that sanctions relief a possibility on the table?
Well, if the sanctions were to be eased in any manner, Trump is not going to ease sanctions on Iranian oil because the beneficiaries will be China and India. He will, if a deal were to be clinched, and that is a big if, I doubt whether a deal would be clinched that would satisfy the Americans. But if that were to happen, if a deal were to be clinched, the sanctions relief will be in other areas. Financial sanctions, for example, could be eased. But on the oil front, because the U.S. is seeking to enlarge its own exports, is seeking a bigger share of the global oil market. It's seeking to, in fact, expand its oil exports to India. So the last thing that the U.S. would do in a hypothetical situation where a deal is clinched is to ease sanctions on Iranian oil.
All right, I'm going to leave it there. Dr. Brahma Chellaney joining us live on what could be the potential as far as the US-Iran talks are concerned.